Despite the phenomenal success of the Simpsons TV series, it has always been the merchandise for the show where the real money is made. Dating back to the Simpsons' very beginnings, back when they appeared as shorts on the Tracy Ullman Show between 1987 and 1989, merchandise was a big part of the cartoon's success, and the main reason it became ubiquitous, something which the show itself has acknowledged a number of times, such as crediting the show's creator as Matt Merchandising Groening for the third installment of the Treehouse of Horror series, along with numerous other jokes about merchandise over the years. One form of merchandise that's proven to be popular are the products produced by Kidrobot, who, since the late 2000s, have released a variety of Simpsons-themed collectibles, including plush toys, enamel pins, and keychains. Kidrobot has also produced numerous lines of vinyl figurines that have proven to be widely popular, particularly the Treehouse of Horror series, which is made up of numerous references to the Halloween specials, except for one figure that has nothing to do with the Treehouse segments, but is still well and truly horrifying because of the real-life events that it's referencing.
Clowns can get away with anything. Clowns can get away with murder.
After a fateful business trip to Asia in 2002, during which he saw how popular vinyl toys were throughout the continent, Paul Budnitz founded Kidrobot, confident that there would also be a market for such toys in his homeland America. The initial incarnation of the business was simply a website through which Budnitz sold imported toys from Japan. Following the success of the page, Budnitz opened a store in San Francisco a few months later. Soon after, Kidrobot began producing its own toy line, with the company becoming known for their character Dunny. As the company expanded, they opened stores throughout the US and internationally while commissioning numerous artists to make customized variations of Dunny. Kidrobot soon started producing merchandise related to intellectual property of pop culture media. And in the late 2000s, the company began collaborating with The Simpsons. The first line of Simpsons merch came out in August 2008 with the release of a set of vinyl figurines in blind boxes consisting of 24 figures made up of the titular family along with various other iconic Springfield personalities. Homer is the only character to have an alternate version of himself with the hippie Homer figurine, a reference to the 6th episode of the 10th season, Doing in the Wind, which first aired in November 1998. In the installment, Homer briefly adopts the hippie lifestyle like his mother did. And in a dream sequence, Homer imagines what such a lifestyle would be like and envisions himself as a stereotypical hippie with long hair surrounded by women.
Homer J., will you teach us to make love?
The Kidrobot set also featured a couple of novelty figures in honor of obscure characters such as Krusty's animal sidekick Mr. Teeny and Funzo, the Furby parody toy who first appeared in the 9th episode of the 11th season in the Christmas installment Grift of the Magi, which first aired in December 1999. There's also one lone reference to the Treehouse of Horror series with Ned Flanders as the devil from the first segment of the Treehouse of Horror 4, the 5th episode of the 5th season, which first aired in October 1993. In this segment, Homer agrees to trade his soul for a donut, leading him to discover that Flanders is the devil.
I'd sell my soul for a donut.
Well, that can be arranged.
Series 1 of the figurines proved to be so popular that a second line was released in October 2010, consisting of 25 new figures. This time, each member of the titular family got 2 versions of themselves. The first and most commonly available version is the family dressed as a mariachi band, a reference to the 5th episode of the 12th season, Homer vs. Dignity, which first aired in November 2000. In one scene of the installment, the Simpsons are forced to perform as a mariachi band in order to pay for their meal, during which they perform the 1965 song Moon Over Naples, otherwise known as Spanish Eyes. The other versions of the family members are much rarer, especially the Homer and Bart figures. Given the popularity of the Devil Flanders from the original series, this second set features special zombie versions of each of the Simpsons characters which, although the designs differ somewhat, is presumably a reference to the opening sequence of the Treehouse of Horror 4 when zombie versions of the family members break through the floor to get to the couch. Later, in September 2013, Kidrobot released a series of Treehouse of Horror themed figurines consisting of 12 characters. There's alien figures which are presumably Kang and Kodos, who, outside of the Simpsons family, are the only characters to appear, if only briefly, in every Treehouse of Horror episode, after being introduced in the original Halloween special which first aired in October 1990. The second segment of the episode, Hungry Are the Damned, is a tribute to the 1962 episode of The Twilight Zone To Serve Man, and one of the figurines is a direct reference to this initial Treehouse episode, as they're holding the How to Cook for 40 Humans book. The figure is likely Kang, as they are the one who explains the book to Lisa after she discovers it and mistakenly believes that the aliens want to eat the family.
It's just a little dusty.
The other figurine is presumably Kodos, and a reference to Treehouse of Horror 18, the 5th episode of the 19th season, which first aired in November 2007. The first segment, E.T. Go Home, is a parody of the 1982 film E.T. the Extraterrestrial about an alien stranded on Earth. In one scene, Kodos insists that he has no ill will towards Earth before accidentally revealing that he's armed.
I was accidentally left behind in a spirit of peace.
Although the second alien figurine is almost certainly Kodos, it could be another reference to Kang, as the gun, although different in design, could be a reference to Treehouse of Horror 9, the 4th episode of the 10th season, which first aired in October 1998. In the third segment, Starship Poopers, it's revealed that Kang is Maggie's real father, after Marge was abducted by aliens. The story marks the first time the aliens are seen using handheld, gun-like futuristic devices. Kang uses one such device to impregnate Marge.
Look behind you! Insemination complete.
Later in the segment, they use a ray gun to obliterate Jerry Springer's entire audience. While it's unclear whether the second alien figurine is a reference to the Starship Poopers segment or not, the half-human, half-alien Maggie definitely is. There's a Krusty figurine with a detached brain, which is a reference to Treehouse of Horror 3, the 5th episode of the 4th season, which first aired in October 1992. In the third segment of the installment, Dial Z for Zombies, Bart accidentally unleashes a zombie plague on Springfield, which Krusty falls victim to.
Hey kids, look what you can win in the Krusty Sweepstakes!
As a testament to the strength of Treehouse of Horror 4, the Kidrobot set features 3 more figurines in honor of the episode, in addition to the Devil Flanders from the original set. There's Homer with a donut-shaped head, a reference to the first segment of the installment, The Devil and Homer Simpson, which is an homage to the 1936 short story, The Devil and Daniel Webster, about a farmer who sells his soul for 7 years of prosperity. In the Simpsons tribute, Homer sells his soul for a donut, but then reneges on the deal, leading the devil to give Homer a donut-shaped head.
But let that ill-gotten donut be forever on your head!
The second segment, Terror at 5.5 Feet, is an homage to the 1963 episode of The Twilight Zone, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, about a man who spots a gremlin on the wing of his plane, though no other passenger believes him.
It isn't there.
The Simpsons tribute plays out much the same as the Twilight Zone's version, though the setting is a bus instead of a plane. In honor of this segment, there's a figurine of the Simpsons gremlin, complete with the flare that Bart tries to use against him. There's a Mr. Burns figurine as Dracula, a reference to the third segment, Bart Simpson's Dracula, which is an homage to the 1992 film Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is itself based on the 1897 novel about the titular character. There's Groundkeeper Willie as Freddy Krueger, a reference to Treehouse of Horror 6, which first aired in October 1995. The second segment of the installment, Nightmare at Evergreen Terrace, is a tribute to the 1984 horror film A Nightmare on Elm Street and its numerous subsequent sequels.
Glad to rake your acquaintance.
There's Bart as a half-man, half-fly superhero, which is a reference to Treehouse of Horror 8, the 4th episode of the 9th season, which first aired in October 1997. The second segment, Fly vs. Fly, is an homage to the 1986 film The Fly, based on the 1958 film of the same name, which was itself based on the 1957 short story, about a scientist whose experiment goes wrong and slowly starts turning into a fly hybrid creature. In the Simpsons version, Homer buys a matter transporter which Bart uses after he imagines that it will give him superpowers if he mixes his DNA with a fly.
Huh, I'd be stupid not to do this.
There's Marge as a Panther Person, which is a reference to Treehouse of Horror 13, the first episode of the 14th season, which first aired in November 2002. The third segment, The Island of Dr. Hibbert, is an homage to H.G. Wells' 1896 novel, The Island of Dr. Moreau, about a scientist who performs highly questionable experiments involving animals and humans, which is also the main plot of The Simpsons tribute, with Dr. Hibbert turning Marge into a half-human, half-panther creature.
Quite a tiger there. Easy, easy.
There's Lisa dressed as a witch, a reference to Treehouse of Horror 19, the 4th episode of the 20th season, which first aired in November 2008. The third installment of the episode, It's the Grand Pumpkin Millhouse, is a parody of the classic 1966 television special It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown from Charles Schulz's iconic cartoon series Peanuts. In the installment, Lisa dresses as a witch for the party that is ultimately ruined when the Grand Pumpkin goes on a rampage.
All pumpkins are racist. The difference is I admit it.
Finally, completing the Treehouse of Horror set, there's Ralph dressed as a clown, which, unlike the other figurines, has nothing to do with the Halloween specials, but is a clear reference to Pogo the Clown, one of the personas used by real-life serial killer John Wayne Gacy to distract from his horrific crimes.
Police today found 6 more bodies
under the home of suspected killer John Gacy.
Released in September 2022, Dahmer Monster, The Jeffrey Dahmer Story, details the life of the high-profile serial killer who was active from 1978 to 1991, taking the lives of at least 17 people. The series focuses predominantly on Dahmer's childhood, times when he was almost apprehended, and his conviction and death. The series also explores systematic failures in the legal system, specifically how police incompetence and apathy enabled Dahmer's crimes. While the series received critical praise, it also garnered significant criticism over claims that it glorified Dahmer, trivialized his crimes, and either exploited or simply disregarded the victims' families and friends. And with this in mind, had the Ralph Kidrobot figurine been released with much more publicity, it almost certainly would have garnered criticism over ostensibly glorifying Gacy, who, from 1967 to 1978, took the lives of at least 33 people. Given the scope and shocking nature of his crimes, Gacy received major media attention during his trial. After being found guilty, in March 1980 he was sentenced to death before finally being executed in May 1994. Ultimately, like Dahmer, Gacy became an icon of infamy in American pop culture, especially because of one highly unusual aspect of his character. Because, in between committing his gruesome crimes, Gacy had often volunteered as a children's entertainer, performing in characters either Pogo the Clown or Patches the Clown. Gacy regularly performed at numerous local parties, political functions, charity events, and children's hospitals. All of Gacy's known murders occurred in his home, a ranch-style house in Norwood Park Township, Illinois. Typically, after luring his potential victims into his home, Gacy would get them to put on handcuffs under the pretext of demonstrating a magic trick before easily attacking them. With this in mind, it's clear that the idea of having Ralph dress as Gacy isn't about trivializing or, worse, celebrating Gacy's crimes. Rather, it's all about Ralph's distinct personality, with the joke being that, given Ralph's innocence and gullibility, he would make for the perfect victim for Gacy, someone Gacy could easily lure into his home and get to handcuff themselves without ever realizing the gravity of the situation.
I'm in danger!
Adding another layer to the joke is the fact that Ralph's father is a chief of police, who should be horrified at the very thought of his own child dressing up in honor of a serial killer. But given Chief Wiggum's well-established obliviousness, it's both highly plausible and morbidly amusing to think Wiggum wouldn't see anything wrong with Ralph dressing up as one of the most brutal criminals in American history. In fact, if anything, Wiggum would probably be encouraging.
I think your grilled crayon sandwich was delicious.
There is also another layer to the idea of associating Ralph with Gacy, since real-life monsters are often regarded by those who know them as the least likeliest person to be pure evil.
You're the devil?
It's always the one you least suspect.
And the idea of Ralph possibly being a future criminal is especially concerning, given that he has in fact demonstrated criminal tendencies in the past, like back in the 18th episode of the 9th season, This Little Wiggy, which first aired in March 1998. The installment details the improbable friendship between Bart and Ralph, though even Bart notices red flags early in their relationship.
Right, a leprechaun. He told me to burn things. Uh-huh.
No Halloween TV special has become as iconic as the annual Treehouse of Horror episodes of The Simpsons. For more than 30 years, the show has mashed up popular horror and science fiction stories and reimagined them in the universe of The Simpsons. Beyond providing fans with wildly entertaining stories, the success of the Treehouse series also, inevitably, led to various successful ranges of merchandise. Rightfully so, Kidrobot's vinyl Halloween figurines proved to be one of the most popular, with Ralph's figure the most coveted of them all. Officially, the figurine is credited only as the Ralph figure, though it's since been dubbed Ralph Dressed as a Clown, or, more commonly, something that amalgamates Ralph's full name with John Wayne Gacy's, because Ralph's design is clearly inspired by the infamous criminal, which makes Ralph the only figure in the collection that, despite being part of the Treehouse of Horror set, has nothing to do directly with the holiday specials. But, given the nature of Gacy's crimes, the figure embodies the spirit of the Halloween specials without glorifying Gacy's crimes, as it pokes fun at Ralph's distinct personality while playing off the joke that Ralph's parents, despite their connection with law enforcement, wouldn't have a problem with him dressing up as Gacy and ostensibly celebrating his actions, suggesting that Ralph could someday be just as infamous as Gacy for the exact same reasons.
Now you know what you have to do. Burn the house down. Burn them all! Your grilled crayon sandwich was delicious.